Hey, what's up? I'm Mike Squires, and this is the Couch Riffs Podcast with episode number 115. 115. That's fucking nuts. And my guest, Zuri Appleby. Zuri, like myself, former Marine. That was a fun discovery and occupied some of the very beginning of our conversation, which is pretty fun. There's one weird thing that happened in our conversation where I was saying something for the benefit of the listeners. And when I was listening back to the podcast and like taking out all the times when I go, it sounds like I'm telling her that women Marines are called WMs. And I'm actually saying that for the benefit of the listener. And I sound like I'm a fucking mansplaining person. And I'm just not. I'm trying not to be, at least. Jesus Christ. So, of course she knows that women Marines are called WMs. But you don't, because you probably were not in the Marine Corps. Because the Marine Corps is the smallest branch of the military and the toughest. That's what they want us to believe, at least. So anyway, we had a great time talking. Zuri moved to LA a few years back and immediately started getting killer gigs because she's rad and she plays the shit out of the bass. And she's a cool person. I hope you guys enjoy this conversation as much as I did. If you enjoy the Couch Riffs Podcast, you can become a monthly pledge supporter over at anchor.fm/couch-riffs or go to anchor.fm. Search for Couch Riffs, or there's a link right in the description of this podcast. Makes it real easy. For as little as 99 cents you can support, or go to couchriffs.com. You can buy t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and we have limited edition merch right now out there in the world. I'll put a link to that also in the website, or not in the website, in this in this description, this podcast. Or go to any of my social media and you'll find a link to the limited edition Run DMC merch there. But listen, right now I want to thank all the folks who have been supporting the podcast already, okay? So listen up. Thank you, Ryan Waters, Hayden Smith, Ryan Hooper, Matt Gabbs, Justin Jones. Go check out his guitars. They're super cool. Doug Starkovic, Deja Colantuono, Rochelle Parker, Chris Smith, Adam Pranica, Dan Hurst, James Pope, S.J. Somerset Sullivan, Mike Lacerda, Jamie McParland, Dan Leary, Kathy Giordano, Rebecca Pellman, Danny Bland, Soto Rebellos, Ryan Crace, Paul Hutzler, Justice Gash, Steve Hall, Teresa Morgan, Rolla Amplifiers, thank you, and Perry Morgan, and of course, last but not least, thank you so very much to River City Guitars. River City Guitars, as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast, is a really cool guitar store in Spokane, Washington. You can find them, if you don't live in Spokane, you can find them at rivercityguitars.com. Now, my guy, Bobby over there, has been working in the guitar world for years and years. He's got a keen eye for the cool stuff. He's traveling, he's hustling, he's running around, and he's gathering up all the coolest vintage used and cool guitar gear that he can get his hands on. If you've got stuff that you want to move, I'm just going to say it now. Sell it to these guys. Why not? Their number is 509-818-7693 if you want to give them a call. Or you can email them. Send them some pictures. sales.rivercityguitars@gmail.com. Every day is a buying day. They're buying stuff. Always. Every day they want to buy stuff. Okay? And follow them on social media at River City Guitars. Because there's a lot of stuff on social media that as it comes in, it's just moving. It's moving. Doesn't even make the website. It moves that fast. You got to stay on top of this stuff. This is a modern world, man. Every week, I pick something off the website that I think's cool. This week, My pick is a 60s Supro Ranchero. It's been refinished. Some kind of red, I think. It's red. I think it's very, very red. But I'm colorblind. You guys know this. The back and sides are black. It's bound. It's cool, man. This thing's got humbucker up there in the neck position. It's like a arch top hollow bottom. It's like essentially, it's like an acoustic with a humbucker in the neck. And it's cool. This is, you want to hang this thing on the wall and just have some art? Fine. You want to sit on the porch and play this thing? Fine. You could gig this thing. It's pretty hot. And you can have it for $4.99. And you'd be the talk. You'd be the talk on the block. You know what I'm saying? They're taking offers too. Why not? Make them an offer. They're reasonable folks. Get over there to rivercityguitars.com. Take a look at this vintage beauty. Really getting into my radio voice. I hope that you enjoy this conversation. I loved it. It was great. I've been having a great time doing the podcast always, but lately it feels gratifying as it's grown, and I'm very happy that you guys are listening, and so I appreciate that. I just want to say thank you to everyone. If you are not supporting the podcast and you're listening, thank you. Thank you to you too. Thank you to everyone, you know? Remember the golden rule? Treat people the way you want to be treated. It's not that hard. Just, don't be a dick. It's really simple. There we go. Now, could you say something for me?
Hello.
Now we're cooking.
All right.
It's almost like a mixing board that goes to my Logic, and it goes back and forth between Skype and Zoom. And so if I don't switch if I don't play operator, it doesn't go. So that's all right. All we did was talk about what a trash can year this has been.
Right. Yeah.
But we were just getting to the good stuff. I was so excited to find out that you were in the Marine Corps. And, I knew, I'm still in touch. I was out in 93, so it's been,
okay.
I'm old ass.
Oh, whatever. Stop.
But I'm still in touch with a lot of folks that I was in the Marine Corps with. And
that's beautiful.
Are you?
I am I would say I know a lot seems like a handful of people, but there was only so many people that I was even, that close within the Marine Corps anyway. So there's definitely a good handful of people. My, the commanding officer of where I was stationed at, he still keeps up with me, which is cool.
Yeah.
And some other musicians that I was in the band. We didn't even get to that part, but yeah, that I did that with, and even some people I was in MCT with. So it's pretty cool.
Right. I sold. So when you were in 10 years ago?
Yeah, I know. Crazy. I got out in 2009.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
I
too feel old.
I mean, I joined during, I don't know if we're ever in peacetime, but there's no peacetime for the Marine Corps.
I know, right?
I joined in 1990. And so, the first Desert Storm broke out while I was in that. Over. That was over pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So I was never in any danger of having, I never had to do anything. I was whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I had an easy time, easy time. But I work with folks who, were in probably at the same time that you were, but they were like infantry. I wasn't about to mess around and be a 03 or whatever. I'm not trying to,
I know.
I'm not trying to like catch bullets.
I know. Crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's a crazy world.
It's crazy to think about. Like, oh, you're just 17 and like, it's wild that we just agreed like, yeah, let's go do that. What?
Well, but when I finally discovered that I wasn't recording our previous conversation, I was telling you, like, you know, I ended up, I think like a lot of people that I was in boot camp with and served with, you know, no one, you know, people went on and went to school afterwards or even took class. You know, I didn't take classes. People took, you know, went to night school and everything else. I was too busy screwing.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah, I was not doing that.
I was messing up left and right. Yeah. But you know, I was not college bound, and I definitely there was a lot more opportunity for me to get in like prison bound kind of trouble at home.
Yeah, honestly.
And in the little town I grew up in, but it kind of seemed like it was you know, it was a place for, I don't know. I mean, it's called Uncle Sam's Misguided Children for a reason. But
yeah, out of all places, like you choose to do that? Why? Right. What the heck are you thinking?
I half joined on a dare because the recruiter caught me one day, you know, and some friends of mine had joined, and he was like, "Hey, you want to go play basketball with us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll go play." And then some folks afterwards were like, "Oh, you'd never join the Marine Corps. You're too much of you're a wimp. You're a puss. You can't handle it."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Oh no,
say less."
Exactly. Yeah. And just so that was it. Work. I joined. I did it. But how did you end up in the Marine Corps?
So I ended up in the Marine Corps. I kind of always was, I guess, starting out, just to say, I was like always a tomboy. I really love like sports and anything that requires me to like exert my body and be like, oh, I'm a badass. So I love that. I also just was always like that girl that just wanted to like be as good or as fast or beat the guys. Like it was like to beat the girls. No shade, but it was always, I mean, it was always like, okay, we can beat the girls, but what about the guys? So I always like that kind of type of challenge. And I was definitely an extracurricular type of person, like studious activities and like was not my forte. Like I'm more like hands-on, like show me and I can like demonstrate it back. But if you're just like sitting there talking to me, I'm just like turned off. Like what?
Yeah, I'm not that kind of a
so college and school was not like my strong point. Like I always excelled in anything where I had to like perform or like do action, I guess. So, and I knew that like my sister, she was really into college and she was really smart and like amazing at like, you know, just applying herself in that way. And so I was like, well, what am I going to put my, you know, family in deep debt where I don't even want to go? Like, I'm not even, probably not even have grades to like go to a good college, like, you know, and so, and I did have, you know, a skill for like, I could have, you know, probably got a scholarship to some music situation, but I just didn't, it wasn't really for me. And my dad also is a Marine veteran. So it was definitely exposed to me early on of like that branch of service. So like, I didn't, you know, probably when I found out about like there being armed forces, like Marines was the main one I was aware of, like, as opposed to everybody be like, oh, like, I don't know, Army is probably the most popular in people's heads, but I was always like pre-exposed to just the Marine Corps being a thing. And I always knew like the Marine Corps, I don't know, were just the most badass. So, like, they're just, that's how I was understood as like, growing up. Like you get, as I was in the military, I learned there's some divisions of all sects, you know, of this armed forces where, you know, there's like everybody can be intense. So you have the Green Berets, you have the Navy SEALs, and you have the...
Yeah, you don't want to like go out drinking and lock horns with a Navy SEAL.
Yeah, let's be honest. Like, probably I don't care if you're a Marine or not. So
it
was just kind of like, I just thought like that was going to be the most challenging. Like I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to do the armed forces, like I want to do the one that's like the most intense one. Like it's got the longest boot camp. Like the girls don't train with the guys. Like, so there's no like distraction in that regard because like that's just natural and obvious will happen. And so I don't know. I just expected the not having a sign up bonus. Like I thought that was admirable to I don't know, not be. I mean, we're already, let's be honest, like we're definitely being like lured in as young people, but the money part just seemed like such an oversellout to me. It was just like, yeah, you'll get like $14,000 or whatever the hell, and it's just like crazy. Like
as a 17-year-old, that sounds life changing, though.
It sounds. I mean, and little do they know it is.
Right.
But it was just kind of seemed like if they were going to be assholes, they were at least going to be like more upfront about it. And it didn't seem like as much of a scam to me. It's like, look, you're getting into some shit. You want to do this or not?
Right.
As opposed to being like, hey, like you do this and you can probably become like this rank by this time. Like, you know, it was just kind of like selling you on the incentives as opposed to being like, look, you're here to like bust your ass and like, you know, just commit to what you're doing. Like you down for that or not, like without any incentive. So that was kind of why that collection of reasons why I ended up in the Marine Corps.
I love that. Obviously my experience in the Marine Corps is I was a man Marine, and women Marines are called WMs.
I know.
Do you think that your experience was distinctly different from mine just because of that?
I would have to say like our experiences were definitely different in a lot of ways, but I think like the mental games are the same. It's just like the fact that we're women, the fact that you're men, you're going to have to play the game in a different way, but we're still human. So we still do have a general like, yeah, well, you do this, they're going to feel this way. But, you know, it just was geared more towards things that offend a woman. Like, you know, but you call anyone that's overweight fat, they're going to be offended. But yeah, maybe, if it's a man or woman, but maybe a girl might feel a way if you know, like kind of attack, like, I mean, no one wants to be ugly, but, you know, but maybe it hurts more to a girl or something. Or but they just really, you know, in the Marine Corps, they just would not be shy to find what like really was whack about you and like, and exploit it. Like,
get
like whatever the case.
Get after it.
Yeah. Like it was like the thing that they could tell you already might have felt insecure about, like, oh yeah, we're going to like rip that open. So I think the approach was the same. I think we just got it like from all angles. And it almost feels like, you know, there was a sense of camaraderie that and like family that I know that anyone in service you feel, but I think that it was kind of stifled a bit in women because we didn't really feel protected by our men at all. Right. It felt like, so where the guys, it was like, well, you're not even a threat, so I don't need you to protect me. So it's not like a loss for you as much as to feel like, well, look, we all went through this, like, damn, like we went to the same boot camp as you. Like you know that we went to the shit, but it's just like, it didn't feel like they were on our side. So that kind of took away from probably a huge reason why a lot of people get into the, you know, the service, like to feel that sense of family. And it didn't really, it kind of was a slap in the face when it's like, oh, you thought you was going to feel wanted and welcomed. And like, no, fuck you too. Like, we don't like you either. Like, so it was kind of like hurtful in that regard. But especially when you're young and you're definitely looking for like ownership and to be validated by, you know, shared experiences. Like, you know, a lot of people bond over their shared experiences and it didn't seem to matter.
There's definitely like a slap in the face when you hit the fleet and, you know, you're a fresh boot and you're just like, yeah, the Marine Corps. And then you get out there and you're like, oh, we're just back to regular world problems where everyone's at each other. Right. Yeah. You know, I think probably
it was a little different.
I think that women were probably better prepared for Marine Corps boot camp than men, because I think generally speaking, as far as like, I think women have to deal with so much more gnarly shit than men do that it probably was less shocking the way you're treated, like that you get nicknames or like all the games, like women have to deal with games their whole life from the moment you're born. It's like,
right.
And men just have this sort of other thing, I don't know. They have this crazy idea of.
I mean, it's like, it's a huge slap in the face for anybody. Like I went in definitely being like, feeling like, okay, I'm going to go here and kill it. Like, I'm going to be like the one that like, I went in there like, yo, I'm going to be the one that's like, whatever, just excelling. Like, that was my mindset. Like, I know that they're here to break me. Like, I know this is a game. Like, none of this is personal. Like, I kind of went in with that mentality. So it like, there was special moments when I was like super broke down. Like, all right, this is just taxing. But it was definitely like, like knowing it was a game kind of made it easier to tackle on. But it was still like, even with me feeling super prepared, like say like I still got broke down at times. Like there's no way around it. Like no one can be prepared for something like that.
I went in, so I was a racing stripe recruit.
Mm-hmm.
Did they paint racing stripes on women?
Well, explain what that represented.
Like I went into boot camp and they put me on a diet.
Oh, we just called it different. But yeah, they were just called diet recruits. Like they had those for sure. But they had a little rude name for him, but it wasn't a stripe. I think it is like you had to keep your boots unbloused for longer until like you got, to the weight requirements or something.
No, nobody, even once you hit requirement, got taken off of a diet.
Oh, wow.
But, I mean, they called us fat bodies.
Fat bodies.
Fat bodies, yeah. But that was brutal. Like you'd have to, you'd go to the chow hall, get your fucking tray. You could have this, you couldn't have that, blah, blah, blah. And then you have to stand there at attention with your fucking tray. Well, the DI came over and looked at it and like talked all kinds of crazy shit to you. But I lost 35 pounds in boot camp. And I remember coming out feeling like kind of a little bit exposed, actually.
Like you felt too thin. Like, look at this. What they turned me into.
I didn't feel awesome. I feel great at like 190. Like I feel like pretty lean at 190, and I was 175. Oh, like chicken legs.
Yeah, I think like no one came out like over that weight.
No.
Like I don't think that was possible.
No.
I was a twig. I was already a twig going in. I lost more weight. Like I already was like only 117. I think I got out at like 112, 110. Wow. But I was like,
they didn't put you on double rats?
18-minute 3 miles. Like I was like just ripping it. Like, but I was also like a twig, but I was strong as hell. So I felt good, but I definitely like gained weight immediately after, because like no one can live that life. That's not how you really live life.
No way. And so what was day-to-day Marine Corps band life like?
So band's life, it started out, around 7 a.m. We have muster call, and we start with some form of PT, They would kind of, each squad leader would lead them in PT or whatever the case. Mm-hmm. We like have our logistical duties. So it's kind of like each bandsman was obviously had other logistical requirements. Like if you're in fiscal, or if you're in like, like just normal jobs that are required. So we would spend time doing those type of things for some of the day. Then we have like our marching band for a good amount, because I was stationed in New Orleans. So we did a lot of the Mardi Gras parades and and we were literally right next door to the general. Like, so we did a lot of his, like the change commands. I mean, all that stuff, we would perform for. So we did a lot of marching. That was like a lot of the day. It was marching. And then we would break off into sectionals where you get with your different instrument group. If it's like the low brass or the euphoniums together, like whatever, you just break off and isolate your parts, work on your parts, then come together. We have like band meetings,
Did you play additional instruments in the Marine band?
I did bass guitar, and I also, when you're in the rhythm section, you're in the rhythm section. So when you're marching, there's no bass. So
right.
I had to do, I would do bass drum or cymbals.
Yeah.
Which bass drum was actually pretty fun because we also had like a second line group, which was fun, like a second line band for New Orleans style, like to kind of break out, like when we're like in the middle of like a parade, rest for too long, like if it's like a 15-minute, like you're stuck there, it's like I have the second line band like come out and go do a thing and come back in, so that would be cool. And
that's great.
Yeah, that was a big majority of it. And then it had multiple ensembles, so it like every day was just a combination of PT, logistical, and then different sectionals and different band rehearsals. If it was concert band, if it was jazz band, etc. Like it would be all brass quartet or whatever the case.
That's awesome. Yeah, I imagine. Was it intimidating at all to be in a marching band in New Orleans, where, I mean, you can't go into New Orleans half stepping with brass,
right?
They don't mess around.
But I mean, we're Marines,
right? Yeah. No, you have built-in confidence.
We're training on our instruments all day, every day, like
right.
No matter what. I mean, they made it to a point where, like, if you suck, it doesn't really matter because you're not gonna, like, even a Marine sucking is like pretty good for the average person, like,
right?
Because we have requirements. I mean, you still have to take like check marks of your skills, like to kind of advance, like to even be able to be nominated for a new promotion or whatever, like have a rank change, like you have to be able to meet a certain requirement. So I mean, it was intimidating because, I mean, you're playing in front of like horn players and drummers, and like everybody's amazing at what they do and like has so much soul, and soul is something that, you can't teach. I don't care how many hours they give you in your practice room, like, but it was also not intimidating because you knew that the people that you were playing with were capable. And if one person flubbed, I mean, it's definitely that Marine, like, you got your back. Like, the person next to you is like, yo, you got that note right? Like, nah, get that. Like, everyone is kind of having a checks and balances on each other. So even if it was intimidating, like you still felt supported, at least in knowing that they didn't suck on their instrument, even if you didn't like them as a person. Like, at least you don't suck. You're not about to embarrass them out here.
Right.
There's always that one, there's always one. There's always freaking one. But
some things never change too. It doesn't begin and end in the Marine Corps. That. Do you think that experience? So when you got out of the Marine Corps, did you go home or did you go to LA?
I went home. I went home for about until 2015 or 16. Yeah, 16. One of the two. But yeah, I went home from 2009 until around 2015.
And that's New York, yeah?
Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo. Mm-hmm. I like Buffalo. I played some fun shows there.
Cool. Yeah, we're definitely a music loving town. We like to, our bars are open till 4. Like, any day of the week is a day to like have a reason to drink. It's so cold, so you have to stay warm by drinking shots. And we just really love music, and so yeah, it's definitely a fun, music loving, liberal city.
And you did a lot of gigging there?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I was really, really, really thankful and blessed to like start right away when I got back. Like, I had no clue. I mean, I was 21, no clue what the heck to do. Like, don't necessarily have a really big like network of people that I had gigging with, and it's not like they knew me from gigging when I was 17. So, or they could, but luckily my parents were involved in music where my name, like, people knew, they respected my parents enough to be like, well, all right, well, I will give her a listen.
What did your parents do?
So my mother is a music teacher, and my dad is also a bass player, vocalist, guitar.
Really?
And they definitely instilled like a lot of music in me at an early age. So and my dad was just like a very well-known, like just self-employed musician, all throughout my upbringing. And then my mother was a teacher as well as a private instructor for vocal and piano, like since I was born. So they had been, making their way through Buffalo. So they were pretty like well known in the music community and just in the arts community and in the city. So they're like, all right, well, Rodney Appleby on bass. All right, well, what's his daughter got to sound like? It was kind of like that.
Did he play electric bass or upright bass or both?
He does both.
Do you play upright as well?
Not as proficient, but I do, I can get around.
Yeah.
I can get around, but I wouldn't like, don't ask me to solo or anything. But
don't
like
ask me to solo
if it's a
anyway.
song, I can play a song. I can play you a
song. I recently converted a bass to fretless because I got obsessed with one song. I converted it to learn one song because I'm, not because I'm a Marine. I'm a fucking crayon eater. So seemed like a great idea, but now of course I'm learning some other stuff and I'm starting to get more comfortable, not having that, the crutch of frets really. And it's incredible. I've learned like some songs that I just never even considered were fretless bass playing are. They just weren't, they weren't like flagrantly doing, being flashy. They were just playing. It's like, oh,
yeah,
wow.
Just letting the sound of the bass shine.
It's really a nice sound. But now, of course, because I have more imagination than sense, I'm considering getting another upright bass. I had one in the 90s. Then I got all excited. I never got very good at it. Pretty terrible, really.
It's intense. It's a lot of instrument.
Yeah.
It's a whole beast, and you really have to own it, and you can't like go in there like, all right, I'm just gonna play it. You gotta like man the whole thing with your whole body.
Did you play a full size or a 3/4?
Full size.
The thing, I don't know how tall you are, but
I'm 5'7".
So that thing is bigger than you.
It's bigger than me. Absolutely. It's huge. But so was the electric bass when I was playing it when I was freaking 12.
Right.
So it was pretty longer than me anyway. So like that part was okay. It was just like the strength required.
Right.
Was difficult. And then just adjusting my right hand was difficult because it's just like plucking on electric is so not the form that you do with upright. So It was really difficult for my hands to like develop that. But I had played violin for like 4 years growing up. And so like my bowing was there, but then the plucking was a little weak.
I'm always so jealous of people who grew up in musical households, and this is incredible. Did your father give you one of his basses, or did you get one of your own, like a small scale bass or a bass where he's like, here, don't drop mine and break it?
Well, he definitely let me play his basses, but no, he got me a little Ibanez when it was time to actually be serious. Like before that, I was just playing on his basses, and before that, though, I started on guitar, and it was just like kind of like a child guitar.
Yeah.
Like a real one, but just a small one. And I tried that for a while, and I was just like, I'm not getting better, and I'm trying so hard. Like, I mean, I got a little better, but it was not the same that my hands took to bass. My hands just kind of were like, yeah, let's do this one. So, but he gave me Ibanez. We went to Guitar Center and bought one. It was like, under $200, but it was a smaller scale. But Ibanez's are, I mean, I think it's like, they're normal. They just kind of are small.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was just like Ibanez sound, like whatever, something, Sound Gear or whatever model. And
that was my first bass. But
it was a good bass.
Yeah.
It's like you throw it, like you mess around and change the pickups on that and put the right strings on that. That's like low key, like a great bass.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I played a ton of gigs with my Sound Gear bass, and mine was like not. I mean, they made some nice ones that were up, above $1,000. That was sort of like the nice Sound Gear bass, but mine first bass was $500 or $600, and whatever.
Yep, it definitely. I loved it. I loved that bass.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, actually, my friend who lives here in LA, yeah, he has it.
Nice.
So I haven't seen. I need to like ask about that and like probably gut it and make it sweet. but yeah, it's somewhere. It's here.
Was it I have a friend who's years ago. Now his son is a ripping guitar player, but this was 10 years ago. His son wanted to learn how to play guitar, and his father is an incredible guitar player, but he brought him to me because he's like, he doesn't want to learn anything from me. I'm just his old man. Did you take lessons with your dad, or did you take lessons outside of the house?
I took lessons with him. Like he taught me how to essentially get in shape. Yeah. Like, he really taught me how to get in shape, and he taught me like the approach to take with the instrument. And he showed me how to, just like get in shape, like just to drill it and like not get frustrated, like just to play through, just play through the frustration. Like just, he'd really, especially the Marine in him, right. He had a discipline for it as well. And his passion for music is a human. And then the thing he loves so much is music. So it's just like he's an intense dude, but he's just like, it's like he probably was a little bit nice to me, but it didn't feel that way, like because I'm just like a young girl, and he's just like again, like keep it going, like we're drilling it. But he would like do it with me, like he would play it with me and just keep going. It's kind of like when a parent's running and you can't run fast, but they're like running and you feel like you can run faster. It was kind of like that, like all right, like keep going. Like so he definitely taught me that, like gave me all my fundamentals. Gave me all the lessons, like probably for like maybe 8 years. I was like anytime, and it wasn't like daily or weekly. It was kind of just like when I needed something, like, Dad, can you show me this? Can you show me that? But I came to him to ask him to teach me. Like he wasn't like, hey, do you want to? Or he was never like, hey, you should learn this about bass. I'd be like, what do I need to know to be able to do this? What he shared with me. And then I just watched him gig, and I just watched him perform, and I just was blessed to hear a lot of amazing live music. I mean, they didn't have babysitters, so we were like rehearsing at the house, or you got to come to the gig. And so we're just like at the gigs, like young as heck, just drinking our, ginger ale and orange juice, like, and yeah, like trying to have like a fancy drink, and like, just like listening to that like all the time.
How great is that to have not had the opportunity to develop a bunch of really terrible playing habits?
Oh yeah.
And even
like that part,
like the physicality of playing, and especially bass, because if you mess around and your technique is bad, you're going to end up with like some weird tendonitis issues and all kinds of.
I did struggle with that. Really? I had some major issues, but I think that was like just from like over practicing in the Marine Corps and like over just like doing it too much. And I'd had some like trigger finger issues. It was like to the point where like I couldn't even like make a fist. Like I had to like, I couldn't even put both my hands in a fist. It was like so painful. I would like be playing a gig and it was just like terrible burning. Like it was very bad.
Ooh.
But I don't know what I did to my freaking wrist. But they were janky. I also did like stupid stuff, like marine stuff, like punch a wall and like, whoa, this is a brick wall. I'm angry. Now my hand's like destroyed. So
no, we did a lot of stupid shit. This is like before Jackass movies. We were like riding ironing boards down the concrete stairs.
No, literally, yeah.
In the barracks, and I'm like,
and I'm the girl that wants to keep up with the dudes. Like, yeah, I'm angry too.
Right.
So I think I could probably blame that less than my technique, but but just a testament to how important it is to have good technique, because it is still taxing on the hand and on your muscles. I mean, stretching the whole nine and eating proteins, like doing wrist exercises that are not related to the instrument playing, the whole thing.
Is your pop still around?
He is still, he's not in Buffalo, but he's still here with us on Earth.
Yeah. That's what I mean. He must be so stoked, so proud of you.
I believe so.
Yeah.
He definitely is like a little bit of like keeps himself, like he's had his fair share of the world and he's just kind of like, all right, it's just being my base at this point. Like,
right.
Y'all got it out there. Like, but like anytime, like, people hear me, they Rodney Jr., like they can hear Rodney Jr. is like that's his name, Rodney.
Yeah.
And so it's really cool. I definitely had the opportunity to like let him hear me in my adult days. I don't awesome. Know if I was excited as proud as he was. Like it was probably mutual. Like, look.
Right. Oh, that's incredible. So when did you said 2015 you left Buffalo?
Yes.
And you just went straight to LA.
Yeah, I came here to LA. I had like, there's no other way to explain. I don't know, like not to bring God into this, but the thing that we don't know how to explain, like, is the only reason that I got like Jonas gig, which came out of nowhere, because I was just kind of like just gigging in Buffalo and just touring, and I was definitely making my rounds. I mean, I was gigging like every day and sometimes more than once a day. Like it was really awesome. Like I was kind of at that point where it was a lot. Like I was the call, like one of the main people to be on call for like if gigs came around.
Yeah.
And then, but that was there in Buffalo, like it's not LA. That's not the world. That's not like, no one knows really except my little small city. So all of a sudden I get like a request from someone. They're like, hey, you're interested in a gig, and we can go to that story. But long story short, I got called to do the Nick Jonas gig. And after that was over, I was just like, well, I'm not about to like stay in Buffalo and just go back to these normal gigs. I was like, I need to like use this leg up that I have to kind of continue to fly. So that was really why I, on top of me just like feeling like I needed to get out of Buffalo, I was like, all right, I'm probably going to destroy myself, like drinking and partying, like, let me get out of here.
Sure.
And you know how it goes. Like it's you're performing and everyone's like, hey, bartenders give you drinks and everything. You're out late, and I'm just like, all right, we got to do something. Oh,
you're telling Noah about the flood right now, because I am sober after plenty of years of.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful for you.
Yeah, no, it's a necessary for me.
That too.
I don't fault anyone for loosening up. But I know that it's not in the cards for me to stop there.
Yep, exactly. And I just kind of was like, all right, I was still young, and I was like, but I knew I was over it. But I also knew that like if it was there like around, I was gonna like, yes. I was like, I need to like go where I know no one, and I need to like, reinvent myself. I guess that's why everybody comes to LA.
Reestablish, yeah. It's easy to fall into habits and. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I was just like, all right, well, I'm going to go. I don't know anybody but like a handful of really solid people. And I just have to like work harder. Like, the gigs were just like there. And, I just was like, and then you just get to a point where so much of the music because it's familiar. Like we're doing a lot of the same stuff. I'm just like, so I just need to kind of force myself out of my comfort zone a little. So I decided to drive here, and I drove from Buffalo to LA with my car, packed it up with my cat.
So you drove by yourself?
It was me and a friend.
Uh-huh. Okay, so you drove, and did you have you had gear with you too?
Yeah, I mean, I had a 210 cab, and my bass, a Lambert 5-string, and some other stuff like my mixer and like smaller stuff. But
Yeah.
that was I had enough to do a gig, and
Right.
all my all the cute clothes that I thought I would need, and like my tax returns, and that was that. And I was like, I'm gonna just like scope it out for the summer, and like LOL. And then like everything like cost way more than I expected. I was like, okay, well, I live here now.
Right. Yeah, no, that's a wake up call.
Yeah. But it was cool. It did work out in its own way. I just didn't expect it to. I just had no clue. I just knew that I was leaving. I was like, test out for the summer. Ended up like having a little job. And then I ended up like needing to keep that job because I was like, it's just stuff kept evolving. I was like, all right, you're living here now. So
right.
That's that.
Was there ever another town in the running, like New York or Las Vegas or Nashville?
I did experience some Nashville time. I like had some work there and had some good connections with the Wooten family actually. Through my mother, she was managing Joseph Wooten, who's the keys player. The brother plays for Steve Miller Band, and like ended up like linking with Victor at the base camp and a lot of cool things, and like had some other work there. So it was kind of like, at least it was a handful of of the right people so that it would be in the running. But it didn't like, I'm an East Coast girl, and I know this is West Coast, but it just felt like the South wasn't my vibe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, it just seemed like, I don't know, something about that. It's like, I don't know if it was me maybe attesting it to like my family also is from Georgia, and like it was kind of like where I would go to like vacation, but I couldn't see myself staying there long term.
Right.
And enjoying it, and like just too much country music. And I just knew that was going to, like, you go to Nashville, like, yeah, you're going to get probably amazing studio work, and you will progress. But I just didn't want to play only country music.
Right. I don't think
so. And I didn't want to be cold
music
in New York, and it's so expensive there.
If
LA is not expensive, like
too. Man.
So it just seemed.
I'm from Seattle,
Oh, nice.
And it's really like pretty sweet.
It's up there, yeah. It's gorgeous.
Oh yeah, but it never gets too hot in the summer, never gets too cold in the winter. It's pretty sweet. But I don't have to tell you, New York it's tough. But every place got their issues.
Right. I just envisioned if I were to ever live in New York, I need to like make it in LA first, and then I'll get a place in New York or something.
Yeah, to live a comfortable life in New York or Brooklyn, you have got to be killing it.
Yeah. And everyone is.
I mean, it seems like it.
It seems like
I mean, if you're there,
right?
I guess.
Right. Yeah. As hard as LA is, it has its own challenges. It somehow has like taken me in its own way. So, and I definitely didn't want to be cold anymore. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hot all the time. Like, when is it going to be fall? Like, do you get a fall? Like, do we get seasons? I'm like, I can't win. I'm just like, all right.
What was the first gig you got when you got out there?
Well, my first gig was church. I got a church gig. I got, which lasted a few years until just this year. I made my exit, but I had been doing that since I had been in LA. So it was like a bassist who I met through the guitar player that gigged with me with Nick Jonas. She like brought me to a jam session, like Charlie Puth's bassist and friend of hers was doing, and just, hey, meet my bassist friend, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, you're dope. And then he started to like go on tour with Charlie Puth, and he knew that I was new, and so it just kind of worked out that way. Like I said, LA just kept on finding a way to provide like different situations that I could at least have something to stay afloat while things worked out. And then so that was my first gig. And then I also had like Dave Schultz is a Buffalo artist who lives here in LA, but he was connected with my dad in years past, and then has made his living here in LA for like 15 plus years. So he, and I did some gigs with him when he would be in Buffalo, and definitely like a really quality musician, and always had quality musicians with him. And so wild dude, had just like all girl funk band, and we'd like played at Crazy Girls, which is like a strip club, which is pretty funny. But so we're like on stage, and like the strippers are like on the side, we're just like rocking out. It's like, okay, cool. So church and strip gig was my first to LA.
There aren't that many industries or professions where the scope of your work will be so drastic.
Yeah, I'd never even realized that was my first two until you asked that. So it's really funny. But yeah, that was that.
That's incredible. And what about touring?
So post that, I began my first touring situation where, again, my good friend Ariana, because she was like, you're coming to LA, like I'm gonna have anybody meet you like that I can. And the all women situation is super popular. I don't know if you know, so especially in LA because of the look, and I knew what I was kind of getting into. Yeah. So to come to LA, I say, so it was a situation where he had reached out to her because she's a talented woman artist, and he was looking for an all women thing. She was like, hey, well, my girl Zuri just moved here. She's amazing. Why don't you consider her? And this artist's name was Nombe, and he's like really big on like serious radio, but was like kind of still breaking through, like, but he's still had like a pretty quality following. So, and had some tours where he was opening up for people, and then he ended up going on to do his own headlining tour. So I worked with him for about 2 years or so, did some studio stuff. Yeah. But so Nombe was my first touring situation. Post that, I decided someone had sent me like a ad of an audition. I had never done one of those. Anything else I had been like referred to do. I was like, all right, well, if nothing else, let me just like go and, just make face and let these people that are a part of this see that I'm here, even if I don't get these gigs.
Right.
Had no clue who I was auditioning for. They just were like major touring artist, whatever. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go. I was actually on tour when they had the bass audition day, but he fit me in on the following day. I was out with Nombe, so I came back and did the thing. Ended up getting that gig, which ended up being an artist, an independent artist named Brent Fayez, who was gearing up to do several headlining tours, which was awesome.
Can I ask you a question about your audition?
Yes.
So yeah. I thought about moving to LA for a minute, but every time I think about moving to LA, like the first time I moved to Portland, Oregon, and then the second time I ended up here in New York. And so is it just like a cattle call? Is it like you imagine in the movies? There's a rehearsal room, there's a band set up in there, and there's 8 or 10 people in a line outside in the hallway?
So I've been to 2 auditions now, and they were both different, but both of them, to even be at the audition, it was not a cattle call. You needed to already like be approved to come.
Got it.
Like, so like you email them, they review like, if you're interested in auditioning, you email them, you submit some stuff, whatever they're asking, if it's videos or whatever the case. It might just be some links to things you've played, or they might ask for you to make a video of a song that they want before they even see you.
Right.
But either way, that's you need to be already accepted to come to the audition, because it's LA. Like, who has time to waste on like to listen to everyone? Like, it can't be first come first serve. That's insane. So it was definitely like, then you get approved, and all right, this is the day, this is the time frame to come. This is your day. So this is the material that you need to have prepared to be able to perform for us. And so that was the one. I did another one where I was auditioning for Christina Aguilera, which was much more intense, where it was a small handful of people, but this audition, everybody watched everybody.
Really?
So that was kind of cool, but also intimidating, Because you're performing. But I guess, that's also probably part of the point. Like, hey, you're going to be performing in front of amazing people all the time. So can you handle this pressure? So,
right.
So you do the audition in front of all the other auditionees, like who are people that are probably already probably heard of them or have seen them or you know that they're amazing. And if you have never, then you're like blown away regardless. So that was that. And we kind of like that audition was actually pretty kind where they allowed us like a few run throughs before it was like, all right, this is your audition. So that's also not always the case. So, but we did it all together where it was like the drummer that was auditioning, like it was each instrument and we would audition together. So that was also interesting. So it was like, all right, you on drums, you on bass, you on guitar, you on keys.
There was not a band that they were auditioning a bass player. It was like entire ensemble.
It was us. And we played it to the track that we learned the track with the hits. Like it was like a thing. So it was kind of like, all right. And it was several songs and they gave us the material beforehand. But, hearing it was like, I don't know if you know about slates where they count you in, to know breaks and stuff. So we were getting familiar how to do it with actual in-ears. So, but also you're playing with other people. So you can't just sit there and be like, I don't have to worry about what they're doing, clubbing over there, throwing, they do a hit, throwing me off that was supposed to be there, whatever the case. You have to do that with everybody and still be like zeroed in. And so that was a whole nother experience. And so I'm sure every audition is different.
I had a casino gig and we wore ears and it was a live karaoke band and there was like over 500 songs in the set list. No,
oh my God.
No sheet music.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
No, but in your ear, there'd be a 4 count. You'd see on the screen where the singer would see the words come up. You'd see what key the song was in. And you've learned enough songs, it's like there's only so many. Your ear gets good, and so long as you hit the root and some of the signature moves, then you're gonna be okay. It's always the bridge that fucked me up.
Oh yeah, the bridge.
The bridge.
Oh yeah, and then the last chorus, because it's like how many times you never know. You just get lost in that last chorus.
Well, so in our ear, you'd get a 4 count. And then the second 4 count, the drummer would count us in. And then, whether the band came in or there was instrumentation that led us in or whatever, there you go. You just start, right? And then there would be a cue just a bar ahead of every move, like verse, chorus, bridge. So you at least knew,
Yeah, that's super helpful.
And that was also a stop.
Come in handy.
Like if there was a pause in the song or something, it would say stop.
Oh, nice. Love it.
Because, you don't want to have anyone.
You got to love those slates.
Just like, you don't want to be the one with your ass hanging out while everyone does a dead stop. It's like, hey.
Right. You're like, you know exactly who did that. Always one.
Exactly. That is crazy. I don't think I could handle that.
Well, I mean, you don't think you can until
you do.
You're like, what are you going to do? Flop on your, you're like, well, I need to muster it up.
How did it?
Like, I'm not about to go home.
Did you get that gig?
No, I actually did not get that gig. The bass player for Demi Lovato and Nick Jonas got that gig, who was definitely like, he deserved it. But ironically, no one got that gig because that gig ended up not happening.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is kind of wild. So that gig didn't even end up happening. This was pre-corona. It was just didn't happen for whatever reason. But so there's that too, where you like, you do all this stuff and then nothing comes of it. I mean, I've been on tour and then got sent home after my second show. It was like, oh. Oh,
really? Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. Like, what the heck? That like, sucks. Yeah, this industry is interesting.
All the better.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I could handle the audition thing. Like, I've had auditions, but it's just like, all right, come down, play with the band, learn these songs.
Right.
I always learn more than I have to.
Mm-hmm.
More than is asked.
No, you must.
If they say learn 5 songs, learn fucking 10 songs.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the if you need a nickel, don't ask for 3 cents, ask for a dime.
Right.
Because
good rule to live by.
Yeah, exactly.
That's smart.
But yeah, I never had to deal with that kind of pressure.
No, but it was also like they knew it was a lot of pressure, so they kind of like,
right.
You know, they did their best to like make it digestible, I guess, like to make it approachable in any way. They're like, you know, but it's also like it's an audition, so like be ready to feel weird.
Right. They're observing, not judging. Probably.
Yeah, they definitely were like, look, we're gonna help you guys get this together, but we got to get through these songs at the same time.
Did anyone completely just like fold?
Like just leave?
Yeah, just like I can't handle it and like roll out.
I don't, and like if they did, they just didn't come to the audition.
Right.
But it's kind of like one of them things where it's like you don't want to be known for the person that like you better say I'm unavailable and don't make it seem like you just bitched out.
Is it still
that's gonna go around, like, you know,
word will travel fast.
So it's better to just be like, I really appreciate it, I'm unavailable. But even that doesn't matter because there were some people unavailable and they will ask you, well, can you mail in a video of then, which is actually probably a lot less pressure, even though it takes, you know, you're recording yourself, you're like, I didn't get that one part perfect, I gotta go back again. So, you know, it's double-edged sword either way.
Is it still that Squire guy in LA that's doing most all of the band audition processes?
I don't know who that is.
There's some guy that's got almost the same last name as me, and he does a lot of the band, I guess probably more like rock band stuff though.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to say his name is Billy Squire, but that's not obviously the guy. That's a different
that's the
guy.
Billy, yeah. The other dude. Yeah, I'm not sure. A lot of times, like, how I get brought into new situations is like the musical director will reach out. Like the musical director will have heard of me or known of me somehow, and then they go from there.
Right.
And that's multiple different people, you know.
Right. What did you have going on in 2020 because surely you had some stuff going on that got canceled?
I did. I mean, you know, of course, I did.
Has it been
it was really cool, but then that was that. So I was another one of them random situations like, hey, are you available to like do a Grammy performance? I'm just like, what? Yeah, like there was like someone that I played at a jam session with one time. Like LA actually does kind of the old school way of you going to a jam session and connecting with people actually does kind of work here, which I thought was cool. But that happened, and then that ended up like not happening. That they didn't have the budget, but then they came back around and hey, so yeah, the same person is like, are you available for a tour, for a show? The artist is going to be Lizzo. What? Yeah, totally. Wow. They wanted an all-woman band. He told me the people that were in it, all amazing, like women that I have either worked with and really enjoyed working with, or people that I've never worked with and have like looked up to. And I don't mean to sound like that person, but I can't say that about a lot of women that I've heard perform.
Right.
You know, on like to say like you really are in your music bag like all the way. Like I can't even know that I say that about myself. Like I judge myself just as harshly. So there's definitely just a couple standout women, and they were in this group. Like, oh my gosh, yes. Like a lot of times I've been put in all women bands where it's like everybody's pretty solid, but this time I was like blown, you know, like I'm gonna feel like they're gonna make me better, as opposed to like, yeah, we can sound solid.
Right.
And so that was really exciting. And the arranger was he's just an arranger for a lot of female artists. It did the Grammy arrangements for LMA and Lizzo, and so I just was like, he did not take it easy on us with the arrangements, which also is not the norm for women bands. It was like, these are the arrangements that dudes would play, and it was like really awesome. And so we were just really stoked to do this gig, because it was just like, all right, I felt like it was the first time I was going to be like surrounded by, like I said, women that just like elevated me as a player on top of arrangements that were going to just make us sound killer. Like it was like, if you just play these parts, you'll sound good. So if we play them well, we're going to sound amazing. And had dancers and the whole nine. So it was for the Houston rodeo, but we were literally there. We had did like 2 weeks of rehearsal, like, 10-hour days, 12-hour days, like intense rehearsals. Like,
wow.
We're out there in Houston and we're like doing the production rehearsals there. And then they're like, yeah, it was like 2 days away. They're like, yeah, we have to send everybody home.
Really?
Yeah. So that happened. So everybody went home and so that was that. We never even got to do the show.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, we were so stoked. Everybody was stoked to do it, from the dancers to everybody involved,
Right. Wow. That is this world. That is this industry. It's pretty cruel.
As much as it's this industry, it's like I felt like, okay, I'm pretty used to the rug getting snatched up under me, but it just, this time around, I don't know if it was like the empath in me just feeling like the collective just heavy shoulders of just like things getting canceled around the world, but it just felt like we really wanted this one. I think everybody just like really wanted something that was really close. And
oh, was that like in March or April? That was like this year?
This was right in this was February.
Oh shit.
Yeah, it was right when everything was canceled. This was right like end of February.
Oof.
May like early March. Like I can't remember the exact date, but it was right then. And then also had the rest of the year. This is also the first year that I could say that as you could feel me at this, like as a musician, where my year was pretty much mapped out.
Right.
Where normally it's like every 3 months I'm mapping it out. Like every season I'm mapping out for the next season.
Right.
Which is okay, but it was actually really beautiful to have a little bit of like long-term security. Like, well, all right, my year is pretty much covered, so I can really have some freedom to like fill the rest in with some like creative endeavors and fun endeavors, and also feel like I'm progressing professionally, financially, And so I had the rest of the year lined up with Adam Lambert. We had residencies in Las Vegas on top of like some Europe shows and all these things.
How long have
all
you
that had
played
to
with
get
Adam?
canceled? It's been, I would say 2 years.
Okay. I used to play with this guy Isaac, and he drummed for him for a while. I don't know if he was a sub maybe at first, and then he was the drummer for I think a few years, and now he plays with. He drummed in my band, but he plays in AWOL Nation.
Cool.
He's a great drummer.
Cool.
But the whole band is always dynamite, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, Adam Lambert killing the vocals live. Like I was really blown away. Like you actually can sing, and like his ear, like he's, got that awareness of going on. So it showed in his band members and how he asks the music to be delivered, which I also super appreciated.
Can we talk about like gear nerd stuff a little bit?
Let's get into it.
I'm back and forth a lot about geekery. And I think and mostly like my resistance to go down the rabbit hole is that like I never totally excel. Like I can get by, like I can fake my way through a lot of stuff, but I never really excelled at anything. And I feel like when I start getting into, I'll spend like an hour and a half just being a nerd about gear stuff. I go to NAMM every year that it actually happens.
Oh, cool.
And just walk around and slobber all over everything.
Of course.
Right.
That's why you go.
But, the truth is, if you still had that sound gear base, you would still be playing and sounding like you. It's just nice to have better tools for sure. And different tools do different gigs. But I guess the first thing I want to ask is, in watching you play, and I'm terrible at this because I'm a fucking ape, but
stop.
Like I have very little right hand technique. I play. I think I have an aggressive right hand, and so the thing that I notice is like all great bass players. It seems like many great bass players don't rely on aggressive plucking of strings, like, and they rely on their amp to deliver like that thing.
Yeah.
And am I onto the truth here?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's how I operate. I can speak for me. I know how a lot of bass players do. We can go back to just like the bass itself. I don't know if this is like a girl thing versus a guy thing, where it's like, I'm gonna like super generalized terms here, but like, guys maybe like to have like a lot of options, like when it comes to their women, but girls are like, hey, I'm cool with one. Like I kind of feel the same way about basses. Like guys love to have like a wide spread of like options. Well, I might want a burger today. I might want to talk. I'm like, look, I really like my cereal, and I'm gonna have the cereal every day. Like because I think that it also speaks volumes to technique and your awareness of the style you're playing and your touch and how it's all being delivered. Because I mean, yes, a bass can be limited in its ability, but where a bass is limited, we have hands where you can use so many different spaces in the bass to have different tone. You can use different technique. You can, make one bass sound multitude of different ways from how you're playing.
Well,
like
especially
just like if
that
you
alembic.
Yeah, I know. Well, that actually took me a while to even get a handle on. Like that was intense. It took me a while to like get into it. It was like fighting back. I feel that way about Fenders too, where I love the tone of them, but it's like you gotta dig into those instruments. I don't know if that's like the women, the like sensitive touch approach in me. Like I just really like the tone of the bass. I don't want to hear. I want to hear the tone of the notes.
Right.
I don't want, and that is expressed through my touch and my attack, but I don't want necessarily the attack to be the focal point. Like I want the tone to be the focal point. So I personally like, I mean, if you watch like Victor Wooten play, or to me, any master, unless they like, Stanley Clark or Larry Graham, they just have an aggressive hand. There's no, you can turn your amp down. It don't matter. It's just going to sound like, Marcus Miller. It's just going to sound live. Okay. It's going to have that on it. But but watching people like Victor Wooten, it's like, it looks like his hand is doing nothing.
Right.
It's just like barely making, work. And I think that's just like a level of mastery of just like the touch. So yeah, I definitely like to rely more on the bass. Like the reason I have a multitude of basses is because I've been blessed to have some endorsements, and otherwise I'm probably a little bit too frugal to, I'm not like trying to buy new bass every year. Right. But not that I like, if I was like really like, I don't know, if I was somebody else or just really more well off, like there's basses I really would love to have. Don't get me wrong. They probably would elevate my playing to a huge degree, but it's also like, if you can have a crappy bass and sound great, like that means that you're that much more of an amazing bass player.
Oh yeah.
And so like if you have 500 different people play the same bass, it's going to sound 500 different ways. So if you can somehow tap into 5 different touches that are within your hands capabilities, like you can make the same bass sound a lot of different ways. And especially if you are messing with the settings of the amp as well, like, yeah.
What was your go-to bass playing with Adam?
I do the Fender.
Yeah. You have
because he has so much funk stuff and so much like old school feeling things and a lot of bass heavy songs, which I love. Like, oh my gosh, I get to slap on a gig. Are you serious?
Right.
So that's awesome. But so that Fender just gives me that that tone I need. And then also when I'm playing on in-ears, because I don't feel the amp as much, like, I don't feel the vibrations quite the same. It just desensitizes me in a way. I know it's supposed to like help you be more sensitive. Like I don't prefer it. So to have an instrument where I really have to like dig in harder so I can at least feel my hand moving against it, it is also helpful. So
were you using a jazz or a P?
A P bass.
Yeah. You know what I like? I like the hybrid. Sometimes I think it's nice.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's nice to have it.
Yeah, Fender does have some like more expensive models, which are like really, really sound amazing. Like don't even barely sound like Fenders with the way that they feel on the hand, but the tone is still there.
I've talked about in-ears a lot on this podcast because I wish that I would have had them throughout my touring career because I have really terrible tinnitus now.
Oh no.
But also the experience, I mean, you nailed it. Having in-ears as a bass player is kind of shitty. Raw deal.
Yeah.
It's not like guitar. It's just like there's not a lot of you don't
or vocals.
Right. Yeah, no, it's
just
perfect
like right
for
there
vocals.
on top. Yeah, just hear yourself and isolate everything. But I need to hear everything at a certain level and like to dial it in. It's like no one has time to sit there and spend an hour with me, and then by the time the show comes around, it's going to sound different anyway. So once the room fills up, it's kind of like, all right.
If you had a live cabinet, just so because if you're standing 15 feet in front of your bass cab and the sound is fully developed, even if it's a relatively low volume, you'll at least feel it. And I think playing bass, you're used to that, feeling the sound vibration.
Oh yeah. I mean,
man, there's nothing like
90% of it, if not all of it. I mean, the vibrations is the music. So when you're just reducing it to taking out the physical experience of it, you're just like, not that hearing is, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
you're just putting it in your head.
Just earbuds.
Just kind of like when you're talking to yourself as opposed to you're talking out loud. It's like not quite connecting the same.
Well, yeah, it's like practicing along with your headphones and your computer.
Mm-hmm.
But in front of a crowd of people.
The amp. And even with the amp there, it's still like I always ask to have the amp there if it's possible. Sometimes I have to like put it behind or it's not enough room, but it's even still. And I have Jerry Harvey, which is like a very quality brand of in-ear monitors, and I got like the triple drivers, got the bass ones, but I'm still just like it's just nothing like the live. You just work around it.
Have you ever been in a rock band? Like a rock band?
I did like a fusion rock. It was almost like metal fusion rock.
Really?
Back in Buffalo, it was like all original music actually. With a good friend of mine, God rest his soul, he was an amazing like guitar player, just like super metal dude, just like so metal, just like dreads all over the face, like all the riffs, but he also loved jazz. So it was like we found a way to like have some just the classic rhythmic metal, but with also like some melodic, breaks and lines that would happen.
Yeah.
And it was we had like a screamo, but like melodic. He was like, but still melodic in his own way, but super screamer, like from deep scream to the high scream, like to the shrills, like. So that was really fun. Like, people like mosh pit type vibes, like we would do type music. Like it was, but I don't know if you know, but Buffalo really has a heavy grunge scene and definitely used to have a huge grunge scene in like the 90s and late 90s. And then that kind of just like maintained like in all the like little snot kids, like we just like that loved seeing that when we were younger, so then we try to like keep that up, and it definitely still has a voice in Buffalo. So it was fun to do that.
I think it was the first or second night of tour, and I remember I was so hungover, and we played this festival in Buffalo, and I have this. I've talked about this on the podcast a lot. It's funny. One of my favorite guitars, my number one guitar. I've had this thing for almost 25 years. We were playing sandwiched between two much heavier bands than we were. I was playing in this pop, like indie rock band called Harvey Danger, and it was a festival. And so, people weren't really having it. And, New Yorkers, East Coasters, you know, they'll let you know.
Oh yeah, with the quickness.
Yeah. And you know, there's all kinds of crazy dings in that guitar from on that tour doing festivals, people throwing shit, and I would have to like pick up my guitar and just block it.
You suck! Beer can, glass bottle.
So amazing. We played that down on the river in Boston. What is that big amphitheater there? The thing where the Boston Pops used to play.
I don't know the name.
The half shell or hat shell. I never know because of that Boston accent.
I know.
I don't know what the fuck they're saying.
You're just gonna say half.
Yeah, I'll just say hat shell, and then they'll oh yeah. That was like the most brutal. That was the most brutal one.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, they get it in.
Do you have a go-to amp?
I really love Mark bass.
Yeah.
I also was like a super old school, like Ampeg, still solid. Like why, like what's wrong with it? I know that they definitely like revamped their models, but just the old school Ampeg was still solid to me. If they weren't blown out, like it was a good one. And
like a B15, like the little flip top thing. Those things have been used on so much shit.
I've never tried one of those. I just mean like 810 cab, like like the big powerful joints. I mean, I also had a kickback, Ampeg, which was very clean sound, and I like how you can, you have the different tone settings, which I love.
Yeah,
that you can do that on, and that's not like Mark bass. You have a way where you can adjust it each aspect of the tone aside from the actual EQ, but you can EQ the tone, like the high or the lows a little bit punchier or more sharper. And you can kind of, blend them. But I like how Ampeg had it, where it's like, all right, you, boom, like they gave you a preset, Yeah,
but the old school SVT is, it's pretty limited. There's like the two switches, and other than that, they're like 6 knobs or something. No master volume, nothing. It's just like, here you go, play well.
Yes, there's also a company that I had found through NAMM. Called Ike. They're a German company, EICH, and they're like amazing. Like, this sounds terrible to say, but it's like, Germans make really amazing gear.
They make a lot of great shit. Yeah.
And so they're just very meticulous with their construction. So the spectrum of sound and the clarity of sound of those amps, which amazing. And they also like 6 pound 1,000-watt heads. Wow. And they do those lightweight things now, and they also have like the bass box, like you can if you need the vibration when you're using the in-ears, each note you play, it'll like kind of like a butt kicker for drums, except you're standing on this block, so each note you pluck, it bounces back to you, so you can feel the vibration of your note. Yeah, which is pretty awesome.
That's a thing.
Oh yeah, they got ways to make it work. It's a little box you stand on it. It's kind of like has a wireless connect, and I don't know, and plug in the stuff, and it can kick back to you. It's like like the size of your like the hand before your fingers show up, like just the hand, like the width, maybe like not even the width of a full extended hand. It's just like a small little ledge of height, and then extends, I don't know, maybe 3 by 5 or it's like, just like a nice square. It's like just a big, it's enough for you to like, you can't do a split on it, but you can walk around, which they probably have bigger sizes, I'm sure. But like, it's enough where you can, you can walk from corner to corner and move around. And
so that connects Bluetooth to your amp or to some other thing interface?
It connects to the amp. Yeah, I know, right? I think it connects to the bass itself.
To your bass guitar?
Yeah, like it's reading the boop boop, because it's like it's like if you don't have an amp.
Oh right. Do you have one of these things?
I did, and I returned it because it was just like, how am I going to travel with this when I'm flying on tours?
Right. Yeah.
It just was like, it just
All
was
of a
a
sudden
bit
you have
much.
to have a road case, and at that point you might as well have an amp.
Well, right. But it's also like, I have to fly with a bass as already.
Right.
It's like a lot of times you have to fly. Like sometimes, like if it was a tour bus situation, that's cool. But even within the tour bus situation, sometimes you have to fly. Yeah. So it just was not always practical for me to have. But if I was like doing a residency and I constantly didn't have an amp, like it would be awesome. Or if I was just doing a one-off, and I'm playing like a huge stadium and I have an amp, but I'm not even going to be able to hear it or whatever.
Are you touring with one or two or more basses?
I tour with one at a time. Yeah, no, I'm I just do one.
No backup.
No, because
man, you are a fucking daredevil.
Well, it's like if I ever needed a backup, like I would buy one from Guitar Center.
Right.
That's how I feel. If I need one, like a lot of times they will provide a backup. But I bring my one, and but that's like for bigger tours where they have room for all that. Right. Like Lizzo or like Party Next Door, Nick Jonas, like they will always have a backup, but if it's a smaller scale gig, it's like, all right, you got the one bass and you have a day before the performance. So it's like, if you check, and if anything went crazy, you handle it before the show.
Right.
Or, and if something happens at the show, freaking tell somebody, like, you just gotta go buy a bass.
How often do you change your strings?
I guess I've never had that issue. I have had an issue where it was like issue before the show, but we had a guitar tech and we worked it out.
Right. I think my first really nice bass was a G&L. I had a L2000, and then I had a 5-string version. But my first bass that I coveted and that I regret ever selling was a pre Ernie Ball Music Man Stingray. Like a 1977 Stingray. And I sold it to a friend. He still has it, and he just dangles it like a carrot. Every once in a while,
at least you know where it is.
Hey, you want to sell that back to me?
Right.
No.
Oh no.
No. But I never changed my strings on that thing ever. And I don't change my bass strings very often. Do you change your strings on tour every night?
Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely not. I mean, we're not guitar players. It's not going to sound good.
Right. That's
what I need it. I need it to be. If I'm on tour and I'm playing every night, I'm still probably changing my strings like maybe once on that tour if it's like a month.
Right.
Because it's like I don't know, that you don't need to.
Right.
I always have plenty of extra strings. That's one thing I will actually have backups of. But I mean, I will change my strings probably like once a month with active playing, or even if it's not, because they just sit around and get dull.
I gotta change my strings soon.
But I mean, I've played strings until they're dead, like 3 months and like 4 months, and then been like, I should probably, like, it feels a little dry, like, all right, I should probably change it. Then I'm like, oh my god, my bass sounds amazing. Like, I don't suck. I just need to change my string.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is ever going to think you suck.
So,
I think.
Thank you.
I think that is far and well behind you.
Thank you. Like you would think that
5-year-old with the sound gear, whatever. Do you have a favorite bass player? Is there anyone that if you could like sit down and pick their brain or learn something from, that you'd really want to?
I really, really, really love Derek Hodge, who is a bass player that is bassist for the Robert Glasper Trio and Experiment, and also is an arranger and producer and just, all that great stuff, from upright to electric. But he's just has just such a beautiful blend of like melodic, and he knows how to be a bass player, but also has a very gentle touch without sounding timid at all.
Yeah.
And his approach is just never stagnant, but never seems unstable at the same time. It's like he might be changing the idea, like, you know, in the next 4 bars, but it still feels like you didn't lose any of the momentum, or, you know, nothing ever feels like it's missing anything. He just elevates the music in such a unique way. And his touch, his touch is also like, I'm a very, I might like people's notes, but if the touch also isn't like just as beautiful, then I'm just like, okay, I like you, but I don't love it. And like right. Victor Wooten as well, like his touch, you know, sold me. Like, and on top of the fact, like, yeah, I love the note choices you're making, but it's also like you're just kind of playing a lot of times some simple ideas, and your touch is making it sound so
right
advanced. You can really hear a person's experience from like one note when they're really good. So,
well, that's where the actual expression comes from, right?
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Derek Hodge has that expression down.
Well, I'm gonna look him up.
Please do. He has his own music as well as you can hear him on other people's projects, but you go ahead and check out his original music. He did come up with an album this year, which is amazing. You'll be blown.
I'll look at that. And so you've played with a lot of top tier touring artists, recording artists, and been in all these situations. Is there anyone that you think you like that's on your like bucket list or your fantasy list to play with?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to play for Miguel. I really, really love his music, and his live shows they just give the band, and he just is like, you know, just makes it all come to life. It's not just about the vocalist. It's really about the live experience. So I love that about his music. You can hear it in the recordings. And then when it comes to being live, it's, you know, everything you thought it would be plus some extra sprinkle. And then I really am a fan of Janelle Monáe's older music. So I don't know. But it's also like her new music's great, but her older music just had a lot more like bass driven stuff. Loved her. Erykah Badu, you know, has amazing bass music, and obviously her vibe is very magnetic, and so I would love to play with her. Like I would love to play for her. She's just all the things. You know, I just love her musicianship. I think that would be awesome. Yeah, those are like my top ones that I definitely like have in the forefront of my mind.
What if you had the opportunity to join a metal band?
As long as they work with me.
Yeah.
As long as they work with me, you know, and as long as it's like still got some feel to it. Cause that's really what I like about metal is like, I just love the feel of like the drums, and like, I don't like it when it's too sterile and just like all about just the chop and the whatever. But I do like it. Like Animals as Leaders is like, I'm obsessed. And I
level
absolutely
shit.
probably couldn't play their gig. But I mean, if I ever like, they were like, all right, we're going to take a year to like get you up to speed. Like I would take the gig.
That's like really insane that like technical really metal has been elevated in such a crazy way in the last 10 years.
Yeah. It would probably have to be a fusion of sorts. Like, I don't know if I could just be like straight up metal. Like, it would have to, but I do like I don't mind the metal at all. It just needs to be infused with some vibe.
Yeah, sure. This year, you know, doing the Couch Riffs thing has got me excited about playing bass, because a lot of times I'll have a guest on, and so when I got to Seattle, I played guitar, and like playing bass was never something that I wanted to do, never had any interest in it, and but I also was like the uncoolest guitar player to ever arrive in Seattle. No one wanted to have anything to do with me because I showed up with a high and tight, and you know what I mean, and like a Jackson heavy metal guitar in 1993, and everyone was just like, "No way, get out of here with that shit." And I just wanted to play so badly, and I met some folks that needed a bass player, so I jumped into it, and played a lot of gigs that way.
Nice.
And I loved it, but then I got an opportunity to play guitar, and I think that playing bass really helped my guitar playing a lot, especially because it was my introduction to playing with a really good drummer and learning how to exist in an ensemble, like a rock ensemble situation where, you know, I was listening to a kick drum pattern and creating a part around that. Guitar players don't listen to that shit. Not in rock music, you know.
Yeah.
In R&B and soul music, and but at that point I had very little, you know, exposure to any music like that. I was, you know, I grew up on Steve Miller and AC/DC. So I feel like this year playing bass has been a really awesome thing for me. And it's always really inspiring for me to get the opportunity to be introduced to new but to bass players that I had never heard of. And so
awesome.
I asked for the call, like, you know, I was like, "Hey, who do you guys want to hear on the podcast?" And someone, you know, tagged you in the post. And
nice.
So I followed up, but I went down and was listening to you play, and you're so great. And I feel like
you.
I think you're going to continue to get amazing gigs.
Thank you.
And they're well deserved. So, because certainly having this conversation with you, you seem to have your feet on the ground and your head's not in the clouds.
Oh, not always.
In the bad way. I mean,
you know.
Yeah, in the bad way.
I appreciate that, though.
But yeah, hopefully one day I'll be half the bassist that you are. So.
Oh no, you be half the bassist that you are. That's really the goal, right?
No, I want to be all the bassist that I am. I want to be me, I want to be me and a half. Also, is what I really want to be. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Doing this podcast, it's been pretty incredible to get introduced to, and a lot of times, like this conversation we're having, we've never spoke. We emailed back and forth, you know, but
that's it.
It's a great way to communicate with people, especially if you have literally zero history with them. So
I agree.
I sure appreciate you taking time to speak with me.
Oh, I appreciate you taking interest to speak with me. So, you know, that's awesome. You don't know me from a hole in the ground and was like, hey, I care about talking to this person. So thank you.
And then we won't talk about any specific things. And, but I have a couple videos that I'm working on, and I'll throw, I tossed one at you. I assume maybe you weren't, it was a little oddball.
You said Cheap Trick.
Hey, take it. Hey, yo, we don't talk about the songs.
No, I'm cool with Cheap Trick.
We won't talk about the songs specifically.
Oh, we don't know what song. We don't know. We don't even know. I don't even know.
There's one other. There's one other that I'll throw at you when I turn off the recorder. But if you're interested in either of those, it'd be great. I'd love to have you in one of the videos as well.
I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to play.
And are you giving lessons or anything like that people could follow up and come look at your website and get in touch with you?
I am. Thanks for asking. I do teach lessons on Zoom or Skype, whatever people are working with. Mm-hmm. And you can reach out to me on my email. I also have what I'll tell you is my name, Zuri Appleby 87@gmail.com. And I also have a website where you can just kind of take a look at some of my history and if anything is coming up, you would have my gigs on there, but times are, but you can just take a look at what I do have there at ZuriAppleby.com.
Awesome. I'll make sure to mention it in the intro too, so the episode is bookended by that stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, again, thank you so much. I'll shoot you some email. Oh, actually, I'm gonna turn this thing off right now, and then I'll just
okay.
Instead of sending you an email, I'll just tell you.